at this.
Welcome back to Green Valley. Today I wanted to share with you a story that I feel like is extremely important to why I know that farming is going to be successful for me, and also maybe for you, okay? So my dad has always lived in the state of Washington, and well, not all his life, but the majority of my dad's life has been in Washington State as a boiler and a refrigeration engineer, okay? He migrated up that way to start his own business where he flourished in the community of agriculture as a boiler and refrigeration engineer. And as you can imagine, the amount of boiler and refrigeration needs that are in the Yakima Valley are just endless. We have hop kilns, we have mint stills, we have large refrigeration needs. We've got the United States' largest population of apples and fruits and vegetables, and along this journey we became friends with a family by the last name of the Inabas. Now the Inabas have a absolutely crazy, inspiring story that I want to share with you today, and that is that in 1907, the way Lon tells it, in 1907, his grandfather comes over to the United States. And when he comes to the United States, he comes with the desire to, live the American dream. And that is he was going to farm, okay? One of the things that you have to know in our American history is that in that time, back in 1907 up to into the 1920s when he started the farm, people who came over from other countries, especially from Japan, were considered non-desirables, okay? They were considered a undesirable alien, as the United States puts it, which means you cannot own land, all right? So he finds this piece of land on the Yakima tribe, on the reservation that's not being farmed, and he wants to farm it. So he goes in and he leases ground from the natives, and during this time people are like, you can't even lease land. You're of Japanese descent. You're not even allowed to own land. You can't even lease it. Well, the natives on the Yakima tribe, in the Yakima Indian Nation tribe, they said, look, you are our friend and we will lease land to you. And that began the relationship of Lon's grandfather and his dad and himself and his siblings, where they started this process. Now, here we are, we're coming up into the 1940s, and World War II breaks out. Well, I think it was like 120,000 families ended up being put into internment camps. So they pulled all of these Japanese families, including Lon's family, and they put them in internment camps. So later on, they ended up getting back out, and they go back to the Indian reservation, and they start all over again, okay? So they go back to the Indian reservation, and they start plowing ground again after they've already started this, and they start the process which they were pulled from, and they restarted it again. So over the years, they leased tribal land, eventually owned the tribal land when they were able to, and farmed it for years, okay? We're I think a couple years ago, if I'm not incorrect, I could be wrong on this, but a couple years ago, it's now December 2023, but the Inabas made a decision that they were at a point in their life where they had put everything that they were as a person, as their soul, into this farm. Lon and his siblings had done some crazy, amazing things, compost programs, feeding into the Northwest Food Bank, taking calls, which are, if you don't know what these are, is undesirable vegetables that just don't look the way they're supposed to for the supermarket, which is a whole different other discussion. Took those and started feeding those out to these organizations for people who need food. I mean, if you look at it, the numbers at the time, I think were like 15,000 people within the region. Children were having food securement issues. 15,000 kids at that time had food issues throughout what was going on with the farm. And Lon's like, this is stupid. This is like, we produce so much vegetables and fruit in this valley. Why are we doing this? So not only were they composting, but also feeding to these food banks, but they became very lucrative at doing it. And I think it was because they were doing it for all the right reasons, right? So here we are years later, and they end up selling the farm. Well, the first thing that comes out of Lon's mom's mouth is, if anybody is going to buy this farm, it should be the Yakima tribe, because they were there for us when everybody else was telling us that we were undesirable, we couldn't own land, that you can't lease land. All out of everything, this tribe stood by us and said, we will lease land to you. This is our nation. We will take care of you. And that's exactly what Lon and his family wanted to do. They wanted to give back to this tribe. And then, so what they did was they sold them the farm, and now they have a fully functioning farm that is producing fresh fruits and vegetables for their nation, okay? Not to mention all the other contacts that they have throughout Washington State, but they left them a gift. Obviously, they made money off of it, but they left them a gift that is continuing to make money, is continuing to say thank you for what you did for our family when we were going through all of this since 1907. How many people do you know can say that their family's farm went back? Well, I guess a lot, but 1907, out of all of the adversity that could possibly happen, the Inaba has made it happen, and they thrived, and they left behind a legacy not only for his family as a gift to give back to the Indian reservation, which I think was pretty damn cool. So if you wanted to wrap this all up, I have had the pleasure to still be able to recently stay in contact with Lon Inaba, and getting this mentorship from him has meant there's no words for it. To be able to have a mentorship from such a strong family who has been through so much and has proven the impossible possible, that has given me such strong feelings towards knowing that what I'm doing is going to be successful. So this story leads me to end with that Green Valley Farm. My goals for this farm is to start providing a sustainable, substantially large commercial produce farm to feed the people who are having problems obtaining fresh fruit and produce, but also to help with allowing for people to understand through education that composting is a real thing for farms, that we can feed these food banks, that we can do all of these things with specialty crops, and that we don't have to grow just corn and soybean and wheat and whatever other grain that we could come up with. We can really do a lot more in the state of Missouri. So follow us for our journey with Green Valley Farm. And I hope that this story, what I think is a very inspirational story, take it for what it's worth. I'm going to leave a link above for you to watch the video of the original video that Lon put out with King 5 News in Yakima, and for you guys to take a gander at. But appreciate your time. This has been another quick video from Green Valley Farm. I hope you guys stay strong, and until next time.